Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Good evening, good friends. My name is Ebenezer Doan, and this is my wife, Elizabeth Paxton Doan. We were born and lived for many years in Pennsylvania. We had a good life in Pennsylvania. Raised 3 children there, but there was a problem. Bucks County started to get very populated. And you remember, Elizabeth, we had to move so far away from your parents and Mother and Father Doan to get land. And we knew that our children would be faced with the same problem when they needed land. In 1807, we heard of this place called Upper Canada, where there was vast tracts of land, vacant land, just for the asking. So, in the 4th month of 1808, our family got together, loaded our wagons, and did you see, Elizabeth? In the barn out there, they still have our wagon that we brought all the way from Pennsylvania when we came. And there was my brother John and his family, and my brother Malin and his family, my brother William, my sister Mary, and Father Doan. And we set out for what we hoped to be the promised land. Well, it was a long trip. We were 3 months and more coming. It was a slow trip. I never knew that that old milch cow of ours could walk so slow. But I'm glad we brought her because she gave us fresh milk every night and every morning. And you took some milk every morning, Elizabeth, and put it in a jug and tied it on the back of that wagon, and it sloshed around all day. And when we stopped for supper, we had fresh butter for our bread. Many, many days on the road, we finally got to that great lake they call Ontario. And you and the other women were very tired. The children were tired. So we found a man with a boat, and a sturdy boat. And you and the children and the other women took some supplies and went across the lake. But we were 10 days longer coming around the bottom end of that lake. Well, what a reunion we had when we met just outside of that little town of York. We were tired, rested a couple of days, but we still had 4 more days to go. So we came up what they called Young Street. Well, with all the humps and bumps and wrinkles in it, they should have called it Old Street. But finally we made it to this little community called New Market. And there were Quakers and a log meeting house. Well, I remember the first meeting we went to, and we met that man, David Wilson. What a speaker he was. He filled me with the power. He was tremendous. Now, he didn't have favor with all of the Quakers. Some said he was too old in his thinking. So they made his life a bit of a misery. In 1812, he left the Quakers, and he started the group called the Children of Peace. Well, the Doans had already decided that if Wilson was leaving, we were going with him, and we all came. And you remember John, he bought land at Lot 9 just down the road, and this was David Wilson's here in Lot 10, and right next door was Malin, my brother, on Lot 11, and we were just up the road on Lot 13. Well, in 1819, I built you a new house. And you see, they still have it. It's out there behind the hedge right now. You said it was the finest house in all of the county of York. Then Mr. Wilson began to talk about building a temple. Well, many a night he and I spent discussing it. He had rather fanciful ideas, but I managed to turn most of them into practical construction. So we started in 1825. Mr. Wilson wanted us to take 7 years, just as Solomon had taken 7 years. Well, I'll let you in a little secret. We had it done in 6. My brother John, who always fancied himself a better joiner than me, built the ark in the 7th year, made of the finest walnut, no nails in it, put together with pegs. He was a year building it, and there it sits, just where it was placed in 1834. William Mackenzie, the newspaper man, when he came to the temple for the first time, he wrote in his newspaper that it was calculated to inspire the beholder with wonderment. And I have to say, Elizabeth, I am very proud of it.
Me too, yeah.
I think it was quite an accomplishment. But all was not well in the colony. There was trouble with the governor. That man Bondhead, he took our tax money, and what he didn't keep for himself, he spent on things that, well, why did we need a canal at Welland? Wherever Welland is. And every job that had a decent pay packet with it went to his relatives or friends of his relatives. William Mackenzie said we should do something about it. And David Wilson agreed. And they spoke out against the governor. And there was unrest. There was brother on one side and brother on the other side. Then there was that terrible day on the 7th of the 12th month, 1837. Young men on both sides killed. Many others had to flee to the United States to avoid prosecution and remained there for many years until they were finally pardoned. Dozens of others were arrested, tried, some of them sent to the penal colony in Van Diemen's Land. They never returned. Others, including 2 of Mr. Wilson's sons, spent months in terrible conditions in prison. And that fine young blacksmith, Samuel Lown from Holland's Landing, and his friend Peter Matthews hung for their part. We were a peaceable people, did not condone such things. It weighed heavily on my mind. Finally, I wrote to the Quakers at Yonge Street, and I asked them to take me back. And in 1840, I went back to the Quakers. But you didn't, Elizabeth. You and the children, you remain members of the Children of Peace. And that was all right. I always felt that you should have your own mind. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Wilson Pearson, and I am the great-great-great-grandson of David Wilson that Ebenezer Doan was just speaking about. The Doans resigned from the Quaker meeting that they attended in Bucks County, Pennsylvania on the 4th of April, 1808, and they registered with the meeting at Yonge Street on the 14th of July, 1808. So presumably they did spend at least 3 months on the road. The distance was approximately 550 miles, a long trip to walk. Doan was truly a master builder. As you heard, he apprenticed with his oldest brother and became a master builder. When you leave the temple, if you look at the outside corners of this building, you will see a quarter column fitted into each corner. That was a trademark of Ebenezer Doan, and it was in many of his buildings. His brother John used the same technique when he built the ark. In 1837, in spite of our best efforts, we were not able to get contact with the governor. But in 2017, we managed to achieve that. We have the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario with us tonight, and we're very pleased to have her with us. Some of these things take time. We'd like to thank you all for coming tonight, and this is not Elizabeth Doan, of course. This is my wife, Donna. By your support tonight, you help us maintain this building and to continue to tell the story of the Children of Peace, which is absolutely a fantastic story. Even though during the rebellion they lost the battle, but in the end they really won the war, because the march to democracy in this country started after the rebellion. And it had its roots right here in the little community of Gwillimbury East. So with your support, we not only maintain the building and the other buildings on the site, but we're able to tell the story of the march to democracy. But that's a story for another time. So, thank you very much for your attention.